Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Gee, I hope I didn't make a mistake with these two. They promised me they'd bring in some really good guests. Well, anyway, here's Frank and Irene.
Well, hello.
Hi.
Hi to Mother May I podcast with Mr. Frank Conniff, Irene Bremison. What you heard up top was my badass bitch of a friend, Gabby Glazer, the niece of the late Milton Glazer, and that was her band, Gimme Splash. You might remember her as the guitarist from Luscious Jackson. Mr. Conniff, you look handsome as ever. What's going on?
Not much. Just living my best pandemic life.
Bringing forth your best pandemic version. Frank, you had a show. Did you have your show this past week?
Yeah, this past week, Trace and I did our live riff of Phantom from Space, and it was a big hit. People loved it, and we got another one coming up Tuesday, April 13th.
Awesome.
The next one.
That's really great, actually. Tuesday, April 13th. That's incredible. Are you? The clubs are reopening, as you know. Did you hear about this? Clubs are reopening April 2nd in New York City.
Oh, I didn't officially hear that. I did. My friend Chris Gershbeck told me that QED was opening up again, but I think they're just going to do outdoor shows. They have like a courtyard in the back there.
Oh, they're doing outdoor. I know they're opening indoors. We'll have to ask our guests.
Okay.
Because about everything. But so what's going to happen? Are you going to continue doing these shows once the world reopens fully, or what are you going to do? Are you going to do like a little bit of the Zoom stuff and then?
No, well, my guess is we're going to keep doing the Zoom stuff shows, and then if we get booked for live things again, if it's safe again, then we'll go out and do live shows, and we'll keep doing the virtual shows. That's
right, because
they're very and the good thing about the virtual shows is people who can't come to our live shows because we don't come to their town we don't get booked near where there's a lot of parts of the country where we've never performed, so they get to see us, so that's cool. That's
really cool, and they can just sit in their bed while listening, laughing along. Let's face it, it's very convenient for everybody. And I asked you, is that hurting you financially? And I love your response every time. Are you making money from these Zoom shows, Frank?
Well, it would be inaccurate to say we make more money from the Zoom shows than from our live shows, because the accurate thing is we make a lot more money from our Zoom shows than our live shows.
You didn't F-bomb it this time, Frank. You know I like F-bomb shit. So I got a little caught up in time. I started watching that Mia Farrow versus
we gotta talk about that. Let's have when John comes on, let's have him talk about it too.
I want you to introduce him. Let's bring him on. He has a kid. He actually has actual life. He got the kid. He's on time. This guy is a stellar example of how anybody should be acting the business. Frank, go ahead and bring on our next guest.
This next guy, you might know him when I was his wacky sidekick on his Sirius XM show, Tell Me Everything, with John Fugelsang, which is still on. It's on at, I believe, 9 till midnight now on Sirius XM on the Progress Channel. We used to be on the Orphan Channel or whatever it was on the channel Sirius didn't give a shit about. We were on that channel. But now he's on the Progress Channel, which is great. And let's bring him on, John Fugelsang.
Oh, John Fugelsang, looking very messianic. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. I love the picture of John Poveromo looking even more messianic that came up before. Thank you. I demand a better-looking man than me appear upon my entrance. So thank you very much. Hello, guys. Greetings. Nice to see you both. And Irene, thank you for saying that a person with a child in New York City has a life. I'm going to cling to that fiction, like Rose to a bedpost in the icy Atlantic. Thank you.
But it's amazing. So tell me, John, you said that you dropped your kid off, who I love.
Yeah, Henry is a great kid.
He's like the most beautiful child I've ever seen in my life. He's like incredibly gorgeous.
Yes.
Now, did you drop him off? I know nothing about what's going on with children. Please explain to me.
I picked him up. He's actually back in school for 3 days a week. We do Monday, Tuesday, and every other Wednesday. We actually get to bring our child someplace, and he gets to have be in a class with one other kid, and gets tested for COVID more than me the entire year. And he gets stimulation, gets to be around people. And then I just picked him up and hopped in a cab to get home in time for you guys. And that's as close to a life as I get in COVID. My 8-year-old sees more people than I do.
Yeah, I know. We're all living in isolation. But when you have those 3 days, what are you doing with that precious time now when you have that time to yourself?
This really amazing thing, eating in restaurants. It's this brand new thing. Eating in almost empty restaurants while my child is in an almost empty schoolhouse. And it's a liberation. Forget drugs. I mean, I can just go pay, $12 for an omelet and feel like I'm in high school again. The freedom is incredible. So, yeah, I will take my evil mercies where I can.
Did they? Did they lower some of the restrictions for restaurants in New York now too?
Well, anytime a restaurant lets me in, they're lowering standards in some way. But I believe it's up to 50% now.
Okay.
And I just had my first meal in a restaurant at night indoors in a year.
Wow.
We were celebrating Charmy's birthday and got to go to a vegan place in the West Village, in the East Village.
Oh, I bet I know that place.
What is it? One is
it the Thai vegan one?
No, it's called Ladybird. It's Ladybird St. Mark's, but on St. Mark's near what do you call it? Near Tompkins. But it's like I've never gone a year without being on an airplane. I've never gone a year without driving a car. I mean, I rented a car last summer briefly, but I've never gone a year without being on stage. I mean, you guys know it's so much. Yeah. And I've never gone a year without getting a haircut. I look like John Wick during a Moroccan oil shortage.
I'm envious. I hate you right now.
Oh no, it's awful. I look like Nick Cave had a child with KB Lang. This is just bad. This is like, I mean, I look like Beethoven fucked Loki. That's what I look like. It doesn't look good, Irene. That's what I'm saying. It's like I look like the really douchey TA in Slytherin.
I disagree with you right now. I have a thing for really long hair. I like men with long hair, except for Frank. Absolutely smashing.
Frank had long hair back in the zeros, and it looked really long hair.
I was trying to keep you to continue, and you actually let it go for a little bit, and then you came back and you look like that clean cut version of yourself, sweetie.
I went a long time in the lockdown without a haircut. I certainly did. But then I finally, there's this place a few blocks from me, COVID Cuts, which they do a really good job there. So I went in and I got a,
what I've been doing is cutting other comics' hair. Like I just gave Carmen Lynch the most amazing haircut. And in the 90s, a tranny. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not supposed to use that word, but you know what?
No, don't say that.
Fucking words. Okay, so here we go.
You're a bigot. You're a bit. No, it's too late. I've canceled you. You're a bigot. I don't care that you were friends with transgender people.
I'm a bigot. Let me
before I was born. You're a bigot.
I could be brought up on Me Too charges myself with the way I've slapped everybody in the ass throughout the years, grabbing nipples. I did it all. Anyway, so I put my hair up really high, gave them a little chop, and then it layers. John, I could probably do your hair if you want a little layer action to just fluff it up a little. I'm here for you.
You can be my fluffer any day you need, Irene. I'd be very happy with that. Thank you.
So I was just telling Frank before you came on that I was deep into the Mia Farrow, Woody Allen series. Have you been watching that at all? I
actually just heard about this whole thing for the first time. They broke up.
Right? What's going on?
You know what? It's. I watched the whole thing, and it was 4 hours of relentless testimony, evidence, research, and it still didn't convince me that Curse of the Jade Scorpion is a good movie.
No. Woody's guilty of that. I will come out and say that Woody is very guilty of Curse of the Jade Scorpion. He's more guilty of Hollywood Ending. I got to tell you. That's the great crime. And this HBO miniseries did not address Hollywood Ending. Didn't even bring it up once. And it's always awkward for me, Irene, because I'm totally BFFs with both of them. So it's really.
I know you just have to. Yeah, you just. You don't want to.
Well, we had when I was on John's radio show, we did have other comedians on who knew Woody and had dinner with him and stuff. And I was always because Woody Allen when I grew up was literally my top comedy idol. I mean,
Me too.
Everybody.
And but you know what, and the documentary is very one-sided on the Mia Farrow side of the things. But my bottom line is, I believe Dylan. Dylan, she said that happened. I believe her. That's my bottom line.
Exactly. That's my bottom line too. I believe Dylan. I mean, here's this little girl. She's coming out and telling people that, he was inappropriate with her. And you can actually see it in her eyes in certain, you could see the unhappiness in her eyes. I mean, I hate to get old child psychiatrist on this, but I see that she's been affected. And I mean, we have to, I just believe her. I truly believe her when she comes out and says this. I mean, of course, I'm only on episode 1. I was watching it and almost missed my own.
Oh, okay. Well, the ending, I don't want to give any spoilers. The ending.
I watched this in an even longer version back in 1992.
Oh yeah, I remember that happened too. And it's amazing that Woody, went all of these years without really any major repercussions from it at all.
I mean, Amazon canceled a 6-picture deal.
But that's only that's only in the second wave of Dylan coming out with that article. And then Ronan Farrow. And it's so ironic that his son is Ronan Farrow, who really created the whole atmosphere that made it possible for Woody to finally suffer consequences with his Ronan's Harvey Weinstein reporting, which is one of the most impactful pieces of journalism of our lifetime, because it literally changed the atmosphere of everything. And it's just ironic that he's Woody's son, but it's only in those last few years when the Amazon canceled. And if you watched Crisis in 6 Scenes, you realize, they should have. That was not good. But anyway, but he went from that scandal, 1992 or whatever, for like 30 more years of making a film every year and achieving his biggest success ever, which was Midnight in Paris, was his most successful film he ever made. He won another Academy Award. I think he has 4 of them altogether now. So it's just pretty. Now that he's 85 years old, and but the thing is if this wasn't happening to Woody, he would probably, and maybe he still will probably be able to still make movies, because he gets financing in Europe now. He's made 2 movies that nobody's in America has seen, but if it wasn't for the scandal, I bet you he'd be like Clint Eastwood. He'd keep making movies up until his mid-90s probably. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Of course he would. What? His career's over. He's like 80-something, like you said. I thought it was really funny too when he told Mia Farrow in the documentary that if she wanted to have children with him, that she had to be financially responsible, that he just didn't want to, he wasn't going to pay for the children. I'm like, what a cheap asshole.
Well, it's also weird with of Mia, who says in the documentary, I said to him, I want to have a child with you. He said, okay, fine. I just don't want to have anything to do with it. And she's like, oh, okay.
Nothing to do with it. I don't want to be there when you have to, and I don't want to be financially responsible for it. And then, of course, he has this unhealthy attachment to Dylan. Also, I find like that whole part with Soon-Yi when he took all those nude pictures. It's like, well, you know what? I fell in love with her. It's wrong. She was your goddamn stepdaughter. Anybody?
She was not his stepdaughter.
Not stepdaughter, his adopted daughter.
She was not his adopted daughter. Her father was Andre Previn.
No, okay, but guess what? It was her adopted daughter. Still, there's like that.
Yes.
That relationship where
it's not his adopted daughter. It's not his stepdaughter. It's still creepy as fuck anyway.
Exactly. It's still creepy as fuck anyway. John, you don't look like you agree with that.
I'm on the side that I'm very glad these two did break up. That's what I want to say first and foremost. They made some great, beautiful films together. I wish Mia had done more acting since they broke up, because I think she's wonderful. And I think it's a crime that she's barely she's done like 2 or 3 movies since the split almost 30 years ago. I've watched the first 2 parts of the documentary. You know, I'm on the side of getting the facts right and not pretending I know the answers to this, because the reason why Woody Allen was able to keep on making movies is that there was a very thorough investigation at the time. And at the time, people were more shocked about Sun Yi. The public didn't really believe the accusations. And look, here's the thing. We live in a world where we have to walk and chew gum at the same time on believing women who claim they've been victimized, and also observing the belief that someone is innocent until proven guilty. I have to walk and chew gum with those 2 things in my head at the same time. And the film. Here's what I'll say about it. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that he should have been banned from adopting 2 little girls with Sun Yi? They've raised 2 daughters together who are teenagers now. Should they have not been allowed to adopt?
My personal opinion, yes. I don't think that they should.
Yeah, I would say maybe when you take into account everything from his previous relationship, it is, and part of, and I think they get into it more in the later parts of the series, is part of the whole thing is Woody had incredible power and incredible influence in New York. Powerful people were really interested in helping him and in making it. He brought in millions of dollars a year to New York's economy with his films that he made. And so I never
heard anyone protesting it. I never heard anyone protesting they were allowed to adopt two girls.
Well, because like I said, it all kind of went away. All the scandal and everything. He just went on making his films, and people didn't really think about it for a long time until the Me Too movement happened.
I mean, I think he's finished. I don't think he'll make another movie. Even if he got funding from overseas.
Yeah, because the problem is getting actors to be in the movies now is, I think, a problem for him.
There could be another investigation, but I kind of feel like everyone should watch this film, but everyone should also read what Moses Farrow has said. Moses, I don't believe, was interviewed in this movie, although they did at the end of episode.
They wanted to interview him. They reached out to him, and they wanted to interview Woody and Sun Yi too.
At the end of episode 2, they did one graphic that said that Moses has recanted his statements from when he was a child in front of the camera. I think everybody who sees this should read what Moses has written, and everyone who reads what Moses has written should see this.
And read what Dylan has written.
Absolutely.
Dylan has written as well,
And everyone should read what Woody Allen wrote in his New York Times op-ed responding to it. I think, I don't blame Woody Allen and Sun Yi for not cooperating with these particular documentarians. And I don't think they're going to do their own documentary telling their side of the story. I will say that he's definitely guilty of being a really bad boyfriend. I can't imagine a worse boyfriend than Woody Allen. But as far as the rest of it, But part of what Moses wrote, and I've read what Dylan wrote, and I don't pretend to have the answers to this.
Well, I'm going to read what Moses wrote, but Dylan is the one that was abused, and I believe her. I just really do believe.
Like I said, I think we have to acknowledge innocent until proven guilty. Right. We have to believe women, and we have to believe we have to live those 2 things at the same time.
Right, John. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm 100% on. We must investigate. We can't blindly start prosecuting people and have the media sort of be the nay or yay sayers of what's going on with somebody, like even with Cuomo right now.
But the media, though, don't forget, the media are the ones who gave Woody the free pass for all these years. The media are the ones who built him up as a cultural hero because he was great, because his movies were really good. But, when he made Manhattan, which very much is about this romantic, ethical, soulful 42-year-old man and his relationship with a 17-year-old girl, nobody batted, except with a few exceptions. Critics on the whole didn't bat an eye and talked about what a work of genius it was, and Roman Polanski. And Roman Polanski is another example. Roman Polanski, also a great filmmaker, but it was knowledge. It was never disputed ever that he raped a 12-year-old woman in the hot tub. That was never in dispute.
Yep.
And yet he got to keep on going for a long time. And the thing is what's good is that atmosphere has changed now. And that's a good thing. That you
it's amazing to be alive at this time when men realize they can be replaced. It has never been harder for a man to interfere with a woman or a child than it is right now. You know, my grandma, she had to run away when she was a kid. There was nowhere to go. You don't go to the 1920s. And I think one of the big unsung heroes here are all the men who were altar boys, who overcame the stigma placed on men and talked about their experience, in addition to all the girls who've been abused and all the women who've been abused in workplaces and abused in relationships, who have helped move us from a culture of being victims to a culture of being survivors.
Right.
And the fact that, like, you know, Andrew Cuomo might have sat there in the Bill Clinton administration and marveled at what a rock Bill Clinton was. And Andrew Cuomo probably figured he can stoically wait it out. And I think there's 50-50 chance Andrew Cuomo doesn't resign and finishes out his term.
He might even be reelected.
No, I don't know about that.
The way the Democratic Party is set up in New York.
No. And here's why. Here's
possibly happen.
Here's the difference. The reason that everyone defended Bill Clinton was that even though they knew what he had done with an of-age intern was incredibly shitty and regressive and pathetic, they knew that the people trying to take him down were worse than him. Now, looking back, if Bill Clinton had resigned and we got President Al Gore, who ran as an incumbent in 2000, there'd be no Iraq war, most likely. So, you know, but the difference is Cuomo's being taken down by Democrats. Everyone who's taking down Andrew Cuomo is from his own party and is someone who has been allied or worked with him or for him in the past. So when I hear our Republican friends climbing on the Cuomo bandwagon, I'm like, you know what, y'all, you can sit what we call the fuck down, because look at John Edwards, look at Al Franken, and then look at Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Democrats eject him, Republicans reelect him. And it's really simple. And with Cuomo, I say the same thing I said with Al Franken, the same thing I said with Brett Kavanaugh. My opinion, I believe there needs to be a thorough investigation. I don't think Al Franken should have resigned before an investigation. I know his resigning might have helped the Democrats pick up a senatorial seat in Alabama. That happened at that time of the special election. And we're having this conversation the day that our friend Sheldon Whitehouse, Frank,
yes, friend of the show,
that Sheldon Whitehouse has now put in a request to Merrick Garland and the DOJ to investigate how the FBI didn't do a background check on Brett Kavanaugh. We never had an investigation, a real investigation of Brett Kavanaugh. We never had an investigation of the Al Franken accusations. The irony is Woody Allen's the only guy who did have an investigation. So, like,
and I don't think his appointment is going to go through either, though.
You know what? I think Woody Allen's probably not going to get that Secretary of Children's Rights job he wanted. But I do think that all the Democrats calling for Cuomo to resign, I gotta try and be impartial on this one too, and say, as creepy as it is to see him holding that woman's face in his hands at that wedding, oh my God! Like, there's a generation of older Catholic guys who are huggy and very physical, and Joe Biden's one of them. My dad was one of them. My dad hugged women. My dad hugged men. I get it, but Joe Biden's a guy who learned, oh, that huggy thing doesn't work anymore. Andrew Cuomo hasn't had to learn it, and. Like, you know, when you're a kid and the kid is a bully to you in school, so you go pay another bully to protect you and take on your bully. That's what Andrew Cuomo was. But when I was a kid, my bully moved away. So I didn't need the friendly bully anymore. Andrew Cuomo filled a void when we had no leadership in this country. He was president of COVID response for a year. My wife had an affair with Andrew Cuomo for a year. I would walk into a room and she'd be there with the press conference on, and she'd be like, "Shut up, Daddy's talking." And I'm okay. Cuomo did all this stuff he's accused of. It doesn't take away from the good deeds he did. Just like Woody Allen's movies aren't bad because he may have been a dastardly villain his whole life and hid it from us. But in the case of Cuomo, look, man, I think that it has to be investigated, and maybe there's just a chance. If there's criminal stuff, then that's one thing, right? Like, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the most horrible person in the world. I don't want her to resign at all, because the people who voted for her knew she was a white supremacist liar. Ralph Northam, governor of Virginia, they found those racist pictures of him in his 35-year-old yearbook in blackface. And he did something interesting. He didn't resign, and he instead bent over backwards to try to win back the love of his voters, passed incredible gun rights laws, gun safety laws in Virginia, and the majority of African Americans still support him. In the most recent poll that came out yesterday, the majority of New Yorkers don't want Cuomo to resign over this, which I found fascinating.
Now it's the majority. I think we need to do a thorough investigation too, John. I couldn't agree with you more, honestly. And with Al Franken, same thing. That's why Al Franken keeps popping up during this whole Cuomo thing. And I do think that he did a great job, minus the nursing home.
Right. Well, half of voters in New York don't think
the nursing home that's a bigger scandal, actually.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
Although we don't know if they actually lied about the number of deaths. The Florida governor lied about deaths, and I don't understand why that's not. When you look at how the death rate in Florida mysteriously went down before Election Day and then went up afterwards, no one's accusing Cuomo of lying about deaths. They're lying about where the people died. But a plurality of voters in this poll believe he can continue to do an effective job as governor. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying he should stay, but if he does stay, he'll never run for office again. He will have one chance to salvage his place in history by being the bitch of the voters of New York. A part of me thinks if he gets away with not resigning, I want to see how Andrew Cuomo bends over backwards to help the residents of his state. And in any way,
I think that his accusers don't want to see him bend over backwards.
I don't think he'll. Oh, yeah. Well, none of us do. Yeah. But why didn't he run for president last year? I've been saying, like, why didn't Cuomo?
I think that might have been just common sense on his part, because there's just I don't think his appeal goes beyond New York. That's true of a lot. He could have been
the moderate who beat up on Trump during pandemic season.
I think he probably did the research and the polling, and I think he saw that unlike his delusional colleague Bill de Blasio, who did the most, that whole campaign for president was just pure ego and pure narcissism. And
awful. I'm Bill de Blasio, and I prepared this singer right now. You're not laughing. The worst part about the Cuomo thing is seeing how happy it's made Bill de Blasio.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of want Cuomo to hang on just to make Bill de Blasio look like a dope again. I really do.
Yeah, and de Blasio, he has term limit. Unlike the governorship, doesn't have term limits. One thing about Cuomo that I think it must really kill him is that I think one of his goals was to be elected to a fourth term as governor, and that way he'd beat his dad who couldn't get beyond a third term as governor of New York. But that looks like it's not going to happen. But he might have the hubris to run again. I mean, I think what
we've learned here, though, is that men are awful, and the Y chromosome is a birth defect. I think that's what we've established so far. That if it has a penis, it's already damaged.
That's probably. And also with
I'm not a feminist, Irene. I'm a female supremacist. Okay, like I'm a misogynist. I literally just beat up on men because that's what they. Some of them would like it.
But we really definitely do have to have thorough investigations. We absolutely can't just blindly start, accusing people of molestation and sexual misconduct because we're ruining lives. So this is very true.
And the thing is someone like Andrew Cuomo.
And it doesn't help the victim either, P.S. That's
right.
The thing. We need due diligence. We must investigate thoroughly. It's not good for either side.
But someone like Cuomo, guys like that, they've just lived in a world for all of the decades of their life and for centuries before that, where you could just do whatever you wanted with women in the workplace. You could be as flirtatious as you wanted. You could hit them on the ass. And if they were in a subservient position, like all of these women were, they were in no position to defy you because they'd lose their job. And a lot of women, one of the things we've learned too, and it's true with women comedians too, is they don't end up having the careers that they could have, not just because the whole business is sexist and misogynist in the first place, but also they get discouraged. They're like, oh, I can't, if I can't get ahead here without this asshole approving of me, what's the point? And a lot of women in all kinds of professions, they quit the professions and they do something else because they're their souls are crushed. And I think Cuomo, regardless of what the investigation says, I think Cuomo is a part of that whole culture.
Well, look at how Cuomo, you want an idea of privilege? Andrew Cuomo served in Bill Clinton's cabinet. He had a front row seat to what happened to Bill Clinton because of the way Bill Clinton interacted with women. And he learned nothing.
Right.
He learned nothing except if you're a rock, you can survive it. The difference was, again, Bill Clinton was trying to be taken down by right-wing hypocrites. Cuomo's being taken down by his Lindsey Boylan, Richard Kim. I mean, these are all Democrats who are doing this, which again is why any Republicans, every time Don Jr. wants to talk about Cuomo, oh my God. I mean, the Republican Party literally has a guy bragging about sexual assault on camera, and they make him president. So
and the Republicans
always Democrats who are consistent morally, or progressives, I should say, who are consistent morally on this issue. And other people, I don't want to hear anything from the party of David Vitter. I don't want to hear anything from the party of David Dreyer, from the party of Donald Trump. They don't care. And again, workplace affairs happen all the time. I met my wife at a job, and I was her supervisor, and I have been living in shame for 28 years.
So what's funny, Jack, I work for Steve, okay? Yeah. And now look at us, okay? But I've also had that sexual, like when I remember waitressing and my boss just open palm slapped me right in the ass, really super hard.
Wow.
Yeah, the woman
continuing to get away with it.
Like, I remember saying, this was like in the 90s, I just remember looking at somebody and going, you guys, he just slapped me, open palm really hard. Actually, my ass was stinging, if we're going to be honest.
Talk slower.
Seriously.
What were you wearing, Irene, at the time? Just like a picture.
I was also like your wife, Sharmi, and I. We were both like drooling. I think I might have kissed the screen a couple of times looking at Andrew Cuomo. But the fact remains that, you know, he was America. He was like New York's little sweetheart. And then the whole thing with the nurse is tragic and awful. And now these sexual allegations. And I think, listen, we need to believe women, but we also have to thoroughly investigate. I'm going to continue to say that. Very fucking.
I'd be fine if Andrew Cuomo stayed in and Chris Cuomo resigned. That would be like a good solution for me.
Finally, Chris would have some time to go to the gym, Frank.
I know. We used to see him at the hallways of Sirius XM.
Somebody fill me in because I've been doing a lot of stuff, so I'm just trying to like cram and just for this show, basically. But what's going on with Chris Cuomo?
Oh, nothing is going on with him except the usual, just being a pundit who's not that good, like all of them over there. You know.
Yeah, but what is he saying about this whole thing? Anybody?
He did a thing where he said, I'm not going to cover it, or I'm not going to do any stories about it. But he has a history, though, of covering his brother and having his brother on. When things are going well for his brother, he has his brother on.
The conflict of interest wasn't a problem when it was kissy face time.
Yeah.
And I honestly, like, I loved Mario Cuomo.
Mario Cuomo was great. Yeah,
I only met him once, but I've never met a politician I more wished could be president than Mario Cuomo.
Well, he never. That's the thing about Mario Cuomo, though, is he was every presidential year he was Hamlet. He was like, I can't decide, and then he wouldn't. In 1992, he was like the one who was going to stop Bill Clinton if he got into the race, and he never got into the race. He was the whole biggest concern of Bill Clinton early in those primary season was, is Mario Cuomo going to enter the race? And then he never did.
I mean, there's there's things that Cuomo did early on in the pandemic that I think you could characterize as mistakes, which every politician made them. But if this whole thing of counting the nursing home deaths that died in hospitals, not nursing homes, as hospital deaths to keep the nursing home numbers low, well, that's defrauding the people, and that's serious. And of course, the accusations about women, everyone has a different opinion about how someone's personal behavior goes, but when you do it to people in the governor's mansion, in the workplace, and again, it's he said, she said, and that press conference he just gave left me convinced that this guy doesn't care that he has no allies. He is not going to resign. And it's interesting, the last time a governor resigned was Spitzer. Spitzer didn't have a leg to stand on, because they had the receipts. He had literally, brought escorts across state lines.
Right, which is, and also the most egregious thing about Elliot Spitzer, who is John and I, we're buddies with him. We worked with him at Current TV. He was a nice guy there, but his whole one really egregious thing about him too is he, as an attorney general, he prosecuted people for doing what he did. That was the worst part of it, I thought.
Exactly. And this is what we do with our Republican friends time and time again, and our Democratic friends. It's never the sin, it's always the hypocrisy. And that's what I learned from Jesus, by the way. Jesus doesn't have a problem with sinners. That's who he hangs with. It's the hypocrites who pretend they're better than other people, like me and Frank. But in this case, Matt, I think that considering the polls are arguably in Cuomo's favor in spite of everything that's come out, when Spitzer resigned, we got our first black governor, and if Cuomo resigns, we will get our first woman governor in New York State's history. But I do think that there's a very good chance that Cuomo rides this out. We'll see if they can impeach him. We'll see how hard they want to impeach him. But if he's this popular with the voters, I think that might slow the legislature down. And I think that you should look for Andrew Cuomo beginning to talk a lot about how now it's time to legalize weed. Mark my words. Andrew Cuomo will come out so hard
because he says he's
trying to salvage himself so hard that he's going to become a magical progressive overnight with lots of goodies for the
Andrew Cuomo's whole argument. His whole argument is going to be if chicks smoke weed, they'll be way more chill, and I won't have to deal with this shit.
And they won't complain as much.
Yes.
What happened with Biden too? Those allegations that came out with Biden. When we think.
Well, the main woman though turned out to not be credible. Tara Reid.
But you have to. But it takes a long time. It takes a lot longer to disprove a lie than to spread a lie, and to go through everything Tara Reid ever said and realize the inconsistencies and the problems in logic and the problems in the story. By no means exonerates Biden completely. There was not a thorough investigation, but that's because I think a lot of people, when they read all the evidence, realized it wasn't enough to take down his candidacy. And let's be honest, even if it had been more credible, I don't know if this society would have measured that and said it's worth a second term of Trump.
Right.
We'll take a groper over a racist in America.
Yes.
And by the way, if groping is now cause for impeachment, holy crap that Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor after Gray Davis was recalled.
Yeah.
We need the Nuremberg trials for him. My God.
If you've seen any of Schwarzenegger's recent films, though, maybe it'd be better if he was still governor.
Overall, though, I think it's all positive. This is all a sign that we're getting better as a culture, that it's getting harder for men to exploit women and children and get away with it. What I liked about Biden and the campaign was, and I don't think the campaign stressed this, Biden and Trump presented a real interesting choice. Everyone said, oh, two old white guys. Yeah, but what kind of old white guys? You've got the old white guy who's learned nothing, who's still racist, still white supremacist, anti-trans, hasn't grown at all.
Not even a little.
Then you've got the old white guy who's got a pile of sins, racist and against women and huggy and physical, and being too conservative and being too draconian.
Anita Hill.
Well, but he voted against Clarence Thomas, and Biden. I'll defend him on that because he's the reason Anita Hill is a household name. And if he hadn't called her before there, look, it didn't make a difference in the end. But Biden voted against Clarence Thomas. But Biden, to me, represented an old white guy who's learned. Gone against the Iraq War, the way he flipped on the Hyde Amendment. Biden represents that old white people can pay attention to civil rights and gay rights and women's rights and evolve. Trump is there for all the white people who are proud that they never grew at all. And as a big fan of evolution, I got no problem with a candidate who's an old white guy who's on the side of becoming more decent.
And Biden as a president is way more progressive than anybody predicted he would be. Our friend of the show, Charles Pierce from Esquire, on Twitter the other day said, I've never been as wrong about a politician as I've been about Joe Biden. And I agree with that. And he was not my first, second, or third choice in the primary. Last year, when the pandemic started, I had a joke that because remember everybody was saying don't touch your face, don't touch your face, and I said, well, if I can't touch my face, how am I going to hold my nose when I vote for Joe Biden? But that's that joke has not stood the test of time because he shows
that men can change.
There's an article today, and Elizabeth Warren was my candidate. There was an article in the Times today about how he has so many Elizabeth Warren people working for him now.
Yes, he does.
And he's taken in a lot of the progressive agenda, and the people who really should feel good about that too is progressive people, because the people who have advocated for progressive causes, they're the ones who change the political climate in the country.
Yes.
And Joe Biden is a politician, has always been a politician who looks at the way the wind's blowing, and that's the way he goes. And the people are the ones who made it a progressive wind in this country.
If you had told me that Joe Biden would nominate Deb Haaland, that we'd have a First Nations Secretary of the Interior, and you see how much that infuriated these senators like Cassidy and Lankford, who've taken millions from the fossil fuel industry. I mean, it's stunning. If you had told me that Joe Biden would be responsible for this bill that may likely cut child poverty in half. I mean, the subsidies alone is the most incredible part of this bill. I never would have thought that moderate Joe Biden, who never set anybody on fire.
Right. And also what I love too, that
unflappable. I mean, he stands his ground. That's another thing that I was really, he's tough and he's open and he's willing to work more progressively.
Yeah, he listens.
Well, he can stand his ground because his dog will fucking bite you if you come too close.
Oh, poor doggy.
Well, lucky us, right? Because that was always an looming concern, Frank. You're right. We didn't know that he was going to be progressive enough,
Yeah. And and he picked the first African American woman to be his vice president and
secretary. I mean, the Pentagon. The first African American man to run the military. First African American man to run the EPA. I mean, think about when we talk about environmental racism, like the amount of correctives that have already happened in this administration. And yeah, he's got a long way to go, no doubt. And yes, they got to kill the filibuster, because if you show up in 2022 and say we wanted to raise the minimum wage, but that darn filibuster, no. I mean,
I really hope he does.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of work here to do.
And Biden, the other thing that surprised me about Biden, and I love this about him, is he's exactly the kind of politician I would have expected to just in the name of bipartisanship to say, well, we have to give Trump some credit for the vaccine. And he's refused to say it. And I fucking love that, because Trump deserves no credit for anything.
Thank you.
And he and his press secretary, who's also awesome, by the way, they know that.
Yeah, you can believe it. Like, they want to call it the Trump vaccine, but I'm not taking that goddamn vaccine. Like, Trump literally disbanded the pandemic response team, threw out the playbook, had no plan whatsoever to distribute the vaccine, and he wants credit for this the way he wanted credit for Barack Obama's unemployment numbers. I mean, and again, he got the vaccine and didn't tell anyone. The first time in his life he's had shame about anything. He could help so many people. Trump could save lives right now, but Trump will do the right thing over your dead body, over your dead body, and over your dead body. Yeah,
it's the most one of the most enduring lines of the Trump years is the cruelty is the point, and it's so true about him.
And it's like every stereotype, every negative stereotype about American ignorance, American entitlement, and American cruelty embodied in one living, breathing host. It's just incredible. And I was like, wow, Winter, I thought you were gone. Wow, COVID, I thought you were gone. Wow, Trump, oh no, you're really gone. Like, he will never, he's done.
Yeah.
He will never.
It's also such a great thing that he's not on Twitter anymore. That's like one of the most.
It cut him off at the knees.
I feel like, you know what? I used to take Xanax on a regular. Now I feel like I'm so much more relaxed that he's not on Twitter. But what do you think about the 2024 run that he's I
think it's great, because what's happening right now is Donald Trump, we're watching two sets of parasites feed off each other, because Donald Trump literally sent a cease and desist order to the Republicans to stop using his name and picture and fundraise. Imagine an ex-president, sending a cease and desist to his own party. That's how little Trump cares about ideology or Republicans or anything but himself, that they couldn't use his name to fundraise. The Rolling Stones. I mean, think of it. How many people sent Trump cease and desist orders that he ignored? Eddie Grant, Electric Avenue, REM. They all sent Trump cease and desist orders. He ignored them all. At the same time, Trump got his new super PAC where the money all goes right to him. So he's like, you had the head of the RNCC say, we don't want Trump doing any campaign appearances. Now they're going to have campaign events at Mar-a-Lago to strike a truce. But when Donald Trump goes out to campaign for Republicans in 2022, he's going to be promoting his own PAC. And that is the money that goes straight into his bank account. It doesn't help anyone. He's still grifting. And now he's grifting off the Republicans while the Republicans are trying to grift off of him. And I'm like, let them do it. Let them make the party smaller together. The Democrats already have all the footage they need for 2022, and it was filmed on January 6th of 2021. So those campaign ads are already cut. Don't forget the mini-series we're going to have all spring. It's going to be a mini-series of everybody who believed Trump and is now facing serious jail time for insurrection, having the Trump told me it was okay defense. And you're going to see everyone from the QAnon shaman on down explaining how the president asked us to do this. Meanwhile, Trump didn't pardon any of them. Who'd he pardon at the end? Steve Bannon, who was literally ripping off these MAGA easy marks. Steve Bannon was stealing from them with his wall fund. Trump pardoned the guy who was scamming them, didn't actually pardon them. I'm like, let this mini series play out, people. They are going to ruin each other.
Yeah, but the one thing that's a problem is that the mainstream media has to stop treating the Republicans who were basically supported the insurrection. They have to stop treating them with the respect they've been treating them.
I agree.
They've been having them on Sunday shows every week. They don't ask them about the insurrection anymore. They what's your opinion on this and that, as if they're respectable, normal people. That's very destructive.
You know what's more scary than like these masked thugs desecrating our democracy? The respectable thugs in bad suits desecrating our democracy a few hours later. We can never forget that these Republicans that night still voted to throw out mostly black votes in urban counties in Pennsylvania and Arizona. The whole thing was about racism. The whole thing was about white supremacy, right from a Confederate flag waving to the votes they were specifically trying to throw out with no evidence whatsoever. And you're so right, Frank. The media does not ask Republicans, have you found the evidence yet of illegal voting? But, to me, Frank, they let everybody off the hook for birtherism. I mean,
absolutely.
Donald Trump should have been asked, where was Barack Obama born? Why didn't Donald Trump's racist lies bother you? The media has to let them all off because, as we've discussed many times, the media's bias is to ratings.
Right. And here's the thing, too. Like the mainstream media right now, they're complaining that Biden won't do a press conference. That's their big thing. And yet CNN, which aired every Trump press conference every day, including all of the COVID disinformation festivals that happened.
The press briefings. The press briefings.
Yes, the press briefings. Now they're not airing Biden's press conferences now.
Yeah.
They're not airing them. So they have no right to say, "Oh, but why won't Biden talk to us?" Because we just want the public to know it's bullshit.
Because you can't hate watch Jen Psaki. You can't.
You can't.
You can hate watch, Sarah Huckabee. You can watch Haley, hate watch Sean Spicer. Donald Trump is president because of hate watching. He doesn't even realize big ratings don't mean they love you. That's True Detective season 2, baby. That's what you are.
We already know that. That's, we love hate watching as a society. That's what we do.
That's how I know everything about Sex and the City.
And by the way, wouldn't we all be better off if Andrew Cuomo was on Sex and the City and Cynthia Nixon was governor of New York? I think.
Boy, you just read me my Miranda.
And by the way, New Yorkers, by not supporting Cynthia Nixon, who I think was on the show, but I wasn't there.
She was on the show.
By not supporting Cynthia Nixon, you helped make a Sex and the City reboot happen. So good work, New Yorkers.
But you know what? God bless Kim Cattrall for being a conscientious objector.
Yes.
Kim Cattrall killed Sex and the City 3. She's the reason that film didn't happen.
Right.
She was like Clint Eastwood jumping in front of Malkovich's bullet to save the president and In the Line of Fire. And the bullet was Sex and the City 3. So much respect to her for her service.
Yes, absolutely. We love Kim.
By the way, I would watch the Sex and the City reboot if they kept the character of Samantha, but instead of Kim Cattrall, they just recast it with Tyler Perry as Medea. And don't even mention it. And then I'd watch every episode. That's the only way.
I love Kim Cattrall. Wait, Frank, she was my favorite character. She did one of your shows once, right?
She did. Kim Cattrall was in a movie that we riffed on Mystery Science Theater called City Limits. And on the episode, Crow T. Robot wrote a love song to Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall saw that she sent flowers to Crow T Robot, not to Trace Beaulieu, who voiced the. She sent the flowers to the robot, and anyway, she and Trace ended up becoming friends, and now I'm friends with her too. She
was one of the best Vulcans. They recast Kirstie Alley from Star Trek 2, and in Star Trek 3 gave that role of Saavik to Kim Cattrall. She plays the Vulcan in that, but that's not Kim Cattrall's hippest deep screen credit. This is for Frank. I think the deepest cut of Kim Cattrall you can see, watch her opposite Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in Neil Simon's The Odd Couple Part 2.
Oh my God, do I have to?
The young ladies they meet in the bar. And
oh, wow.
Oh, that lady paid her dues, man.
Also, she was in I like a lot of people during the pandemic, I've become obsessed with Columbo. She's on a Columbo episode too.
That's awesome.
When
she's also Mannequin, you guys. One of my favorite.
Oh, Mannequin too. But by the way,
on the move, yeah.
The movie that we riffed on Mystery Science Theater, City Limits, also had James Earl Jones in it, and the riff that Kim Cattrall quotes from it that she loved when she watched it was, "This is the low point of James Earl Jones's career and the high point of Kim Cattrall's career." She tells you something about Kim Cattrall that she thought that was a really funny line.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't know why what's her name has a problem with her, because after she did your show, Frank, I remember this whole scandalous thing about her and who was the star of Sex and the City? Why
Sarah Jessica Parker. She hates her with.
Yeah.
There's something went on there. I mean, because Sarah Jessica Parker actually wrote when Kim's brother died. Jessica Parker wrote a tweet sending her condolences, and Kim wrote back saying like "fuck off." Yeah.
Frank, that is such a Samantha thing of you to bring up.
Little gossip. Why not?
By the way, I want to tell all your viewers, I tweeted out a photo of you guys that I shot at the Beacon Bar where you look like Bond villains to promote my appearance here. And it's the grooviest picture ever taken. The two of you look like the Bond villain and his foxy mole in the end, explaining their evil plot to Bond.
Is this the one with Jennifer Haggerty? She was
there, yeah. I think she was there that night, yeah. But this was at the Beacon Bar, and it's a great picture of both of you.
Oh, I remember that night. That was...
He's 50 pounds heavier. Who is this guy?
Oh yeah, I know, right? Frank looks great. You look amazing, Frank.
No matter what, look at you. Okay.
Well, John, you had so many health experts when I was on your show that I took their advice and had a heart condition, and thus I was able to not have an appetite for 8 months and thus lose a lot of weight. The perfect health plan.
What is your diet like now, Frank? How much has it changed?
It's changed a lot. For one thing, I've cut sugar is like a once a week treat for me now. I've cut it all out.
Like Irene with the meth.
I meth quite infrequently now, because I care about my teeth, John.
I know. You look much more lifelike. I love it. Yeah. You look like your own before picture again, Irene.
Oh, he did give me steaks, but I ate them very,
steaks and seafood. I had sponsors.
Here,
I live with 2 vegetarians, and these sponsors sent me I swear it was like half of Wisconsin in a freezer case, and I was like, Frank, yeah, I know you need protein still. So I
had like 4. There were 4 very small steaks, and over the course of a couple months I had them, and they were great. And also the hamburgers, those were the tastiest hamburgers I've ever eaten. They were so good.
My sponsors, Irene, and I couldn't eat their product in my house because I live with vegetarians. So Frank.
So yeah. What are you still doing that crazy keto?
No. I mean, no, I think diets are kind of like religions. Soak up all the wisdom you can from them and then move on. Don't stay too long in any one ideology. Like my wife got me into keto a couple of years ago, and then she got out of it right away. But she just did a 30-day juice cleanse where she literally had nothing but vegetable juice all day, every day for over a month. Like I was cooking for me and the kid. I didn't cook a meal for the two of us at all. And she lost over 20 pounds and is so happy and feels so great. And she inspired me to work on it. We both now lost all the weight we gained during lockdown. But great. That's what worked for her. You know what I mean? Like keto worked for me, but then after a while, it's like, all right, I'm going to cut back on the bread, cut down on the sugar. I've learned that. I'm going to just move on.
But John,
did you do the juice cleanse too?
No, but she got me to start drinking more vegetable juice, which I never thought I could do. But if you make it taste enough like lemonade and you have a straw, you can achieve great things.
Exactly. I'm making Frank's face. Listen, you have to eat. That's actually starvation in a way. I'm sorry, for a month. She's going to lose weight because she's not really eating. So you have to
No, like I'm telling you, Irene, it was all vegetable. She got all her nutrients, all her protein, and her skin was glowing. Her hair, I mean, she looked so healthy. She's a troll since it ended. She's just completely looks like a Tolkien character now, but for a while it was
so is this something that she's going to continue, that she's sort of
No, she's eating food again. Yeah, she's eating food.
Oh, okay. So it was just like she's doing some
30-day juice cleanse. Yeah, and I made so many jokes about it, but I mean, she's lost over 20 pounds and she looks great and she's happy. It's hard to mock at this point.
Right.
Well, you know, she looks great and she's healthy, but she spent a month drinking fucking juice. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but man, like I tell you, it worked. You put some ginger in there and it's like a buzz and she was happy. I'm going on my 30-day cotton candy cleanse just to flush out.
That's the Chris Christie cleanse.
Well, Chris Christie freebases it actually. I want to be specific about that. So boy, how many people have we alienated in this interview? How many celebrities will never talk to us again? There goes my jobs with Woody and Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, really. It's funny because one thing that's lucky for me in my career is that I've so avoided the big time my whole career that people like Harvey Weinstein and Woody Allen, I've never been on my radar. They never wanted to work with me, so I don't have to deal with that.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations, Frank. Yeah, my whole plan actually for my career is to do nothing and wait for everyone more successful than me to be disgraced for their sins, and then just rise up that way. So, you know, I'm waiting.
You know what? Speaking of your career, John, I don't know if you saw, but on Twitter, I pitched you as the new Jeopardy host. I think you'd be perfect as the new Jeopardy host.
Yeah, I would have. That would have worked out nicely for me. But I do think that you know, when you've been political in your career, there's a certain kind of job that won't come knocking anymore, and that was a choice I had.
Because even that Ken Jennings guy got in trouble, right, for some of his tweets.
Yep. And having opinions when you're trying to sell something that, you know, pretends we live in a moral vacuum. Nothing against Jeopardy, but I kind of feel like, you know, you should cast the best host for the show, and their personal lives. I mean, if they're not damaging the product, then great. But, you know, I'd go work for Jeopardy and then I'd do some kind of pro-labor tweet and I'd lose the job right away. That's how it works. When you're working in the commercial marketplace, you've got to be prepared. And that's why all this cancel culture talk is bullshit. Like, you know, what did Dr. Seuss do? They didn't ban anything. They're not going to sell 6 books that most people have never read because the heirs of Dr. Seuss are bothered by the racism. Everyone who was reading Green Eggs and Ham, they weren't actually showing the part about slant-eyed men and the illustrations that went with that. You know, this is an example of they actually hate capitalism. Private company decides we're not going to put this product out because it is damaging to the society. And Dr. Seuss was very progressive, but like all of us, he had a lot to learn and had a long way to go too. When we're old, our grandkids will tell us all these things that make us look like monsters we're not even aware of right now. They took the books back because they want to be better, and that's what Dr. Seuss was about. The Muppets, they put a disclaimer before an episode where Johnny Cash sings in front of a slavery flag. They didn't cancel anything. Mr. Potato Head, you can still buy a Mr. and a Mrs. Potato Head. They're just selling another one that you can decide which gender it is. And by the way, all these motherfuckers demanding a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, if you really mean it, then you should demand that Hasbro creates the appropriate genitals. You can stick right on there. I never heard that. Let's get serious if we're going to have gender. These are plastic toys that hide their eyes in their butts. And this is what the Republican Party has, because they can't help you. All they can do is sell umbrage.
Well, as an Irishman, when I was a kid, my favorite was Mr. Potato Famine. Was one of my
yes,
favorites.
that was a great one.
Yeah,
you open the box and there's nothing, and you
He didn't come with anything at all, just a potato.
I got my kid the outsource me Elmo. You open it up, and his job's gone to a monster in Guatemala. The kid's got to learn.
So we're opening up clubs. Frank and I we were talking about this before you came on. The comedy clubs are going to be opening on the 2nd.
April 1st. Yeah, April 2nd. I think the script is the 1st. I think, but yeah.
33%, I think, the percentage for clubs. So how do you feel about that? Can you imagine
if we could get 33% of a club filled? I'd be thrilled. I'd write home.
Just stole my joke. I was like, when did I ever get 33% of you?
Sold out, sweetie.
It's amazing because when we look back, like some clubs didn't make it. In fact, Dangerfields, the iconic, legendary Dangerfields, which was a lovely room to play in, that was the first one to fold. And then like a month later, the Creek and the Cave. And the worst part about that was when the Creek and the Cave shut its doors, all the news articles said this is the first New York City comedy club to close. And I'm like, oh my God, even in death, Rodney Dangerfield gets no respect. So I'm thrilled they're opening. I'm so glad that these clubs were able to hang on through this long, lean year. And, I look forward to getting back on stage and making people leave these clubs in droves.
I'm going to,
Sorry, go ahead,
this pandemic has changed all of us. And I like to think I'm a deeper, more profound person. So I think my act, when I go back and do it, is going to definitely have more cum jokes.
That's great, Frank. I'm so glad. That's nice to grow.
It to old people in the homes that fucking Cuomo was trying to kill them. Frank and I will be doing nursing homes together. What do you say? I think we could do this, Frank. It's a good gig. Okay.
Because it helps them because they walk out on the show and
that's true.
They feel out on the show, Frank.
Yeah. I'll go join you guys just so I can look for pills in the seat cushions.
I think we've got a tour happening right here on this show.
And by the way, John, you're still too young and healthy to get a shot yet, right?
Funny you say that, Frank. I just found out that actually I'm proud to say I am deficient enough that I am now eligible. I didn't know that I had a condition, but I have a condition that a doctor told me I am eligible. So I'm going to start.
Congrats.
That's great.
It's a great feeling. Yeah.
That's how I got it, asthma. What a blessing. And then Frank got his. We're one vaccination in, me and Frank.
That's great.
I ask you, but Frank beat me to it. So are you making an appointment for your vaccine?
Me?
Yeah.
Me? Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, listen, we've already bought plane tickets for travel. Like we're traveling in the spring. So yeah, I got to get shots.
I know. And I was really upset though, because I wanted to go to Greece, and now this whole thing that's happening in Italy had me really, alarmed. I got really scared again. I'm not even going to watch it, but apparently they're going into lockdown again for the third.
Yes, they are. Oh, it's terrible. And it's the variants as well that are happening. Now, all of these, the big four variants have now been documented in 45 different states here in the U.S. I mean, like winter and Trumpism, COVID-19 is not over yet. And we can't get too smug and cocky about it. And, we don't even know how people who've been vaccinated may fare with these variants as well. So still a lot of unanswered questions. The good news for those of us who have a mask fetish, we'll get to continue doing that regardless for quite a while.
Well, I went to Tokyo once a few years ago, and you get on the subway and like half the people are wearing masks anyway, because in that culture, like if you have a cold, it's incredibly disrespectful of you to not wear a mask when you go outside. If you have any kind of thing that you can spread, and if you didn't, and people found out you had a cold and you didn't wear a mask, it would be the most shameful thing. So I have a feeling that in our society now, not that we're ever going to get respectful like people in Japan.
Yeah, we recognize empathy as weakness, Frank.
But I think you're going to see a lot of mask wearing for a long time after this, and that's not
and it's great for me.
A bad thing.
I think so too, because right at the beginning of the pandemic, I did this great. I invested all my savings and all my child's college fund into facial recognition software. So it's useless. I'm completely penniless, but I feel safer, so it's good.
And we haven't gotten sick. I haven't even gotten the cold, except for Frank was blowing his floor on screen. But I haven't gotten even one cold this entire.
Yeah. Think about that long term. Think about long term. I mean, like, look, this is if nothing changes except more men wash their hands in men's rooms, then evolved as a species, because if you ladies knew how many men don't wash their hands in men's rooms, you'd never go on a date again. It's horrifying. So the fact that, like, you ask any doctor, how has it been for colds? How has it been for the common flu? Zilch for most people. And that's amazing. Like, we as a species are going to come out of this stronger because we are going to be more mindful. We're going to wash our hands and not touch our face and do all these very simple steps. And, you know, think about all of the health benefits to that. We'll live longer and can be more miserable for many, many years.
I'm already living that dream.
That's great.
Yeah,
Thank you, Frank.
So anyway, we're running out of time here, but John, I want to know what you're doing. We want to plug anything that you're working on. Your radio show is killing it on Sirius, right? You're still doing that.
Yeah, we've had everybody from Talib Kweli to Julie Andrews join us in recent months.
Oh, you had Julie Andrews? Holy shit,
she came back for this. She came back for a second time. I got Marsha Mason this week, who
wow,
they pitched me all these hot celebrities, and I'm like, no. Marsha Mason, 4-time Oscar nominee, Neil Simon's favorite actress. Yeah, I don't care about the stars of Vampire Diaries, whatever. That's who I want. But at the same time, like, we've been getting great actors and great rappers. We just had the RZA from Wu-Tang join us on the show, and we just had, like, Senator Sherrod Brown join us. And I've been doing the show from here in my TV room in my apartment for exactly 1 year as of this week.
Wow,
it's been really, really crazy. But also,
good at it, John. You're so damn good at it. And I had the pleasure of meeting Carol Burnett. For that, I will always be grateful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the highlight of my life, meeting Carol Burnett.
You know, it's funny because, like, I don't know if they pitched her now, if I would want to do it. Like, they pitched me Meryl Streep a few months ago, and I'm like, I'm not going to finally have Meryl Streep on my show and do it over the phone. No, pandemic be damned. No, it'd be too. No, I want to be able to meet her in person and disappoint her face to face. But we're also, you know, I had 3 tours scheduled last year, and obviously those all went away. But we began doing these online shows for the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Tour. And we had all kinds of great guests join us, so many great guest celebrities. And instead of traveling and doing, 20 minutes on the weekends, I'm running all over the city, filming and writing and editing a different 20 minutes every month. We did a silent movie, and I got Frank Conniff to play Trump. And I didn't go for any Trump impersonators. I needed a great silent movie villain. And it was one of my favorite things that we did. And, I was showing my little kid a lot of Chaplin. And I thought, could we make a silent film about this election? So it's been fun to be creative.
And that was great for me. From doing that silent film, I got a deal at the Hal Roach Studios.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. For the militarized Keystone Cops that's coming out next year. But so our next, it's going to be this Sexy Liberal Tour began 10 years ago next month, back in Madison, Wisconsin in 2011, when Scott Walker was trying to kill unions. And over the years, we've been joined on stage by everybody from Lily Tomlin to Nancy Pelosi to Rob Reiner. And these pay-per-view specials have been great. So we're going to be doing our 10-year anniversary special of the tour virtually next month on the 10th, the Saturday. It's going to be myself and Stephanie Miller, Hal Sparks, and Frangela, some very special celebrity guests. I don't know if I can say any of their names. I really can't, but you'll be hearing them very soon. And so it's really fun. And what's been inspiring to me is how comedians have adapted Zoom and what have you, finding new ways to create, and in many cases have to create even more content now. And so I'm grateful for all of the things that I got to learn and the challenges I got to have, and I can't wait to see what comes next. And I hope I get to see both of you in person and strike out grotesquely again with you, Irene.
We shall. Here's the thing, we're forced to be prolific, and like Frank said, and I agree, Frank, if you're doing the same fucking act, you know what?
Yeah, but you know what? My Sean Spicer material is tight now. My Sean Spicer material is so ready. I've had time to really craft it over the lockdown. So yeah, and my Butt a Fuco stuff is tight. So I'm looking forward to getting out there.
So ripping in the last year, the past 4 years. Good for you, John.
Well, it's going to be amazing that we have to go back to talking about everything, not just that one thing. And that's the exciting part about this new time.
I'm really supposed not to talk about Trump in my act anymore. You know what I mean? That's liberating in itself.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's nice to get up in the morning and see, the president tweeted something and not immediately look for the spelling error or the racism. It's just it's kind of nice. And this is a period, I think I'm calling it the Great Unclenching, where for many of us on election night 2016, maybe it was your neck or your shoulders, your sphincter, your fists, your jaw. A lot of us just got rigid, and it was a very scary time. And it was a very destructive, awful, corrupt time. And, you know, we got to see the highest turnout of voters in the history of our democracy during a plague. You know, all of this shitty stuff, the Capitol siege, or I'm calling it QAnon Ghazi, or all these voter ID laws that they're trying to do, these regressive bills they're trying to pass, it's all because the white supremacists, trickle-down shitty men know they're losing. It's all a sign of progress. And so I think it's just great that, like, when I have to do a radio show and find multiple things to talk about, because there's multiple things to talk about every day, not just, oh my God, what did Cuomo over Caligula do now?
Yeah.
And again, he'll never be president again. All he can do is hurt the Republican Party. So let him run free.
Let's live in Frank's building. And I asked him about it. Remember, Frank? I said, Frank, oh my God. You have one.
I had one of the insurrectionists.
Yeah.
Lived in the guy, you might have read about him in the New York Times. He was a Jewish pickup artist who gave guys advice on how to pick up chicks. And he wore a yarmulke, and he lived in my building. I missed it. Kathleen Roll, my neighbor, she saw the FBI came and they arrested him and stuff.
Wow.
It all happened in my building. Also, I used to do shows in LA with Jay Johnston, who was also at the insurrection.
Is that confirmed that it was him?
I've heard from a few sources that it was him, but my point is I'm just worried that I'm the Zelig of the insurrection. You know,
I saw the pictures as well. It looks like him.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can go from being on Mr. Show to getting suckered by that. I think a lot of, look, let's be honest, folks. I'm not a racist. Middle-aged white guys all look alike. All right, they all look the same to me. It's one big beige blur. So I haven't heard confirmed it was Jay, but that would be revolting on many levels if it was.
Well, we're confirming it right here on this show, and Frank is confirming it. Good for you.
Well,
Frank.
I heard from someone told me that they were told that Sam Cedar confirmed it to them that it was him.
I got to say, if it wasn't him, I think we would have heard him loudly stating it wasn't him by now. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But hey, thank God all these criminals were also too stupid to wear masks. You know, thank God. It's just, this is the thing about American fascists. The dumb is always greater than the evil. You know what I mean? Like the stupid is stronger than the sinister. Their rap name is Dim Shady. You know, thank God that Bush and Cheney were more incompetent than effective at fascism. And thank God for the same thing with this crew that just left. So I'm all in favor of, white supremacists proving that white supremacy is not real.
But also, what's the when they make the movie about the investigation into the insurrection, where are they going to get a second act from? Because it's going to be like the prosecutor going, we need to dig deep. We need to catch a criminal. We need to think like a criminal. And then someone says, boss, we have it all. They all made YouTubes of it. We have it all right here from the videos they made.
Oh my God, they're so stupid. And yeah, I mean, but we're in the second act. And the second act is they're all going to realize that Donald Trump played them all for suckers, just like the contractors learned it, the investors learned it, the bondholders learned it, the donors to the university. I mean, the students of the university, the donors to the foundation, and the wives. Everyone who trusts Donald Trump eventually comes to regret it. Now let's make it entertaining for all of us, because these people are going to turn against him, and it's going to be on our TVs all through the winter and spring. And I think that that's really, really good. I look forward to watching Trump's movement crumble more and more.
I hope you're right.
He's only going to suck the blood of the Republican Party while he's doing it. If these Democrats lose the House and Senate, we're going to lose so much chance at actual progress. So, and I'm not even a Democrat, but at this point, it's just so important. We have reasons to get people to vote. And that's why I'm starting a new GoFundMe. We want to clone Stacey Abrams 49 times. Georgia can keep the original. You know what? If you just want to keep like half a dozen for the Confederate states, great. But we put a Stacey Abrams in every state to get people to the freaking polls. And that could be how we save democracy.
I like this plan, sweetie. All right. So let everybody know where they can find your show.
You can go to SiriusXM and get the free 30-day trial and see what we do every night. You know, cable news is great, but we listen and let you guys talk. And we get a great mix of celebrities and authors and comedians. And I want to get both of you guys to come on next week or the week after, and let's talk the podcast some. And then go to sexyliberal.com to see me and Hal Sparks and Frangela and Stephanie Miller and some very, very awesome celebrity guests. Everyone is turning in a video for this thing. Martin Sheen and Lily Tomlin did our last online special.
Thanks to this my one time in a Sexy Liberal show, I can honestly say I once opened for Joy Reid.
Frank, you've got to do a video. I want you to do just a brief 15-second congratulations on the 10-year thing.
Oh, sure.
You're getting everyone who's ever joined us on stage at a show to do a video, and even you and Alan Grayson, Frank. Even you and Alan Grayson.
Alan Grayson killed, I heard. So.
Oh yes, he did. And Joy's already done her video as well. Joy's done a couple of these specials too. So yeah, but like you guys, I'm looking forward to being out on the road again. I'm looking forward to the time when people can be in a room and share experiences and laugh together. I think that's something that just I can't wait for it to come back. But in the meantime, it's nice that it won't be embarrassing to play to half-empty houses.
Right. It'll go back to being embarrassing.
Right. No, a half-empty house is going to be a sellout for the next year. We're okay. We're
okay.
That's a packed house now, Frank. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on. We love you. You know how much we love you. We just got
nice to see both of you, and I'll write you both, and let's get you on SiriusXM next week. And I love the podcast. I love getting to spend time with you guys, and that people get to hear you guys go back and forth like a real codependent married couple who are really hip but hate each other.
You're talking about my dream.
It's beautiful.
Mine too. Thank you, John. We love you.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks to all your viewers as well. Thank you. Peace.
Wow, that was amazing, Frank. My dear Frank Conniff, how would you like to let everybody know what you're doing in the next week or so?
Well, all I need to say, the next week, my next thing is actually next month, which will be April 13th. The next, the Mads are back, live movie riffing show. Mystery Science Theater 3000 style movie riffing show that Trace Blue and I do. That will be on April 13th. It'll be an evening of short films, which are always really fun. And then if people want to read one of my books, they can go to Amazon.com, where my latest, You're Ruining the Dystopia for Everyone, is on sale along with my other books.
I love that title, and they are so brilliantly funny. And I'm Irene Bremis. Let's see. I'm going to be here on this show, and I'm also going to be at Governor's with Jesse Kierson and Rachel Feinstein.
Wow, what a show!
It's going to be fun. So I'm going to be posting the Zoom link if anybody wants to sign on and check it out. And we're of course going to be here next week. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Bobby. Thanks for
Bobby.
Bobby, we love you. Thank you so much. Our producer Frank. Thank you for.
Thank you, Irene.
Here. And we'll see everybody.
Love you.
Love you too. Mwah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Check us out next week when Frank and Irene sit down with, you know what? I don't know what these two are going to do next, but we'll see you next week.